The Sonic.EXE Rebirth mod just dropped, and there are two characters in this mod that I simply have to cover because they're actually new. The first character is Faker Girlfriend, or aka Girl, and Girl is so interesting to me because I believe she was originally supposed to be in the old Sonic.EXE mod, but ended up being scrapped due to time constraints. But she's basically like a shapeshifter that is trying to get Boyfriend to fall in love with her by pretending to be Girlfriend, and she lures him out into the woods so that she can get him alone. Even though we don't see it in the mod, I think originally Girlfriend was supposed to show up and her and Girl were basically going to battle for Boyfriend's heart, with Girl showing her true form, which is based off Black Sun, or aka Faker Sonic's second form, and of course Girlfriend was going to turn into her demon form. Hopefully at some point we'll actually get to see this scene played out in one of these mods. The next character that I want to talk about is going to be Genesis, who is a version of Dr. Eggman, but in his EXE form. What I find interesting about this character is that he is very much aware that he's in a video game, and even creepier, he's aware that someone is playing the game. But Genesis has no actual intention of trying to physically harm the person, but rather he wants to mentally scar them. And the way that he does this is by torturing Sonic in the video game world, with the goal that the player will get so disgusted that they'll just be forced to quit the game altogether. The sad part here is that Genesis is hell-bent on doing the most painful and cruel things to Sonic, such as setting him on fire, burning him basically until his body looks like coal, and his eyes are even burnt away. And to make matters worse, Sonic is forced to stay alive and feel all this pain because it seems like he cannot actually die in this video game world. And since Sonic can't beat this version of Eggman, he's forced to remain at his side in an endless cycle of torture and undeath. Because when Genesis sees the player actually start the game up again, he will start the torturing session up again, basically meaning that the only way to prevent Sonic from being tortured is to never turn on the game at all. Next on our list, we're going to talk about Majin Sonic, and he's basically based off a famous Easter egg that was in the Sonic CD sound test. Even though Majin Sonic was supposed to be some type of joke, he's actually one of the more creepy versions of Sonic because he has this misshapen, smiling, human-like face and no pupils at all, making him look like something out of a straight horror story. Majin Sonic was actually placed in the game as an Easter egg by a man named Masato Nishimura, and he was also the landscape designer and also the voice of the Sonic in the Sonic CD. Majin Sonic's face is actually supposed to be based off Masato's face. And a lot of people believe that since Majin Sonic is in the same mod as Sonic.exe and all these other demonic versions of Sonic, that he is also a demon, but the name Majin doesn't actually mean demon or evil spirit in this sense. It's actually the nickname for Masato. And since Masato created Majin Sonic, he went ahead and gave him his nickname. And if you activate the Easter egg code in the Sonic CD, you'll actually get this screen that just has a bunch of Majin Sonics plastered over the screen. Next up on our list, we're going to go ahead and talk about Sunky.mpeg, and I really love this Sonic because he's basically a parody of Sonic.exe. And even though Sunky is kind of derpy looking, in my opinion, I think he's actually kind of cute. And I really like Sunky because it's been confirmed that he is the only version of Sonic.exe that actually means you no harm. As weird as it is, all Sunky really wants to do is dance, party, and feed you milk, which is a reference to Sunky's parody creepypasta called Sally.exe, in which basically he feeds people milk instead of murdering them. The next character that we're going to speak about is going to be the actual Sonic.exe, and he is definitely the most well-known EXE character. Most of you probably know Sonic.exe from the creepypasta, which also got turned into a video game. You may actually remember watching Markiplier play it back in the day. I know that was the first time that I was introduced to it. Don't run! Ah! There's also been a ton of animations featuring Sonic.exe that clearly show his demonic personality. Now, many people believe that Sonic.exe is a demon that is actually possessing Sonic, but that's not technically true. EXE is a completely different entity that is more similar to Fleetway Supersonic as opposed to the actual Sonic. I say this because just like Fleetway Supersonic, EXE is completely obsessed with Sonic, and also obsessed with unaliving characters and animals alike. Something that is unique about Sonic.exe is that he just wants to kill for pleasure though. It's not like he's killing because he wants to replace Sonic or because anybody has done any wrong to him. It's simply based off his whims. Now, I'm sure most of you, if you watch my channel, you're probably familiar with Sonic.exe and his backstory. But if you're not, then you're probably wondering why Tails is dead in the corner there and why you see the Knuckles and Dr. Robotnik's arm in the corner of this mod. And in order to understand this, you need to understand the backstory for Sonic.exe. Basically, the creepypasta takes place like this. There is a character named Tom who received a copy of this video game from his friend Kyle. His buddy Kyle told him to get rid of the game because he couldn't do it himself and to not play it. But since Tom was such a huge Sonic fan, he of course disregarded his friend's advice and booted up the game anyway. Now Tom noticed something strange from the very start. The background screen was like this red cloudy image that was super weird and ominous, and also the 3 playable characters are Tails, Knuckles, and Dr. Robotnik, which usually that 3rd character would be Sonic, which was another red flag that Tom completely ignored. And it became very clear after playing with each character and going through their storyline that Sonic.EXE was simply chasing these characters down and killing them. What makes it even more creepy though is that each of these storylines were attached to some type of game, as if Sonic.EXE thought that they were playthings. We see this start out with Tails, where Sonic tells them that they're going to play hide and go seek, which basically just turns into Sonic chasing you down, and we assume lunging at you because the screen cuts out then and all you hear is this god-awful scream. We see this continue with each character, going over next to Knuckles, where he puts a rule on Knuckles saying you can't run. And then we see that Sonic plays this weird game of tag with Knuckles where he keeps disappearing whenever Knuckles gets close enough to touch him. And the game ends with you playing as Dr. Robotnik, where you're in this Castlevania-like castle and you are basically running through until Sonic finds you and kills you. And with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of these videos on the screen here. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time. Peace, peace.